They call it the beautiful game. And in this episode of World's Best, we celebrate the beauty of the bicycle kick and the beauty of the human form. Both are on full display in this highlight. And if you don't believe me, then just watch again as Amanda Gutierres elevates above the pack and executes a perfect overhead kick to score a spectacular goal for Palmeiras in the Brazilian league. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the beginning. Welcome to the Sporter Bio. Our story begins in the summer of 2022 when Amanda was just 17 years old. She was playing for her local team, Palmeiras. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about the Brazilian league. It's something I want to rectify going forward. And I hope that you guys will bear with me as I learn more. But what I do know is that Amanda scored 23 goals in 20 games, which caught the eye of the Brazil national team coach, Pia Sundhage. She brought Amanda into camp and was rewarded with 4 goals in 2 friendlies against the Czech Republic. But it's one thing to perform well in friendlies and quite another to replicate that form in actual tournaments. The Copa Femenina would be Amanda's first real test. Brazil were drawn in Group B, alongside Venezuela, Uruguay, Peru, and Bolivia. A finished the group stage with 3 wins and a draw. And by now, everyone was talking about the Cinderella story of the tournament. A team no one expected to do well, but who had somehow managed to come out on top in a very tough group. But they hadn't played their toughest game yet. In the quarterfinals, they were up against a stubborn Paraguay side. The game was goalless after extra time, and it looked like it was going to penalties. But deep into the 95th minute, Amanda got on the end of a cross from the right and poked home to send. Brazil through to the semifinals, where they would play the most. Formidable opponent of all the USA, the Americans had won the previous 8 editions of the Copa. And while they were missing some big names, including Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe, this was still a very strong side. The winner of this match would face Colombia in the final. And both teams knew that it could only be won. The United States came into the match as favorites, and they dominated possession in the early stages. But Brazil were dangerous on the counterattack. In the 14th minute, they won a free kick on the left wing. The cross came into the box and Venezuela failed to clear the ball properly. There was Amanda to slot home from close range. Now, you might think that this goal was something of a fluke. After all, Venezuela were the weakest team in the competition, and Brazil should have won that match comfortably. But the truth is that this was Amanda's bread and butter, getting in behind the defense and finishing with aplomb, when she almost added a second shortly afterwards. Just look at the pace that she has. Now, this is why she's so dangerous. If you play her in behind the opposition defense, it's curtains for most teams. The United States came out in the second half with more urgency, and in the 68th minute, they were awarded a penalty. When Deanna Rose was judged to have handled inside the area, Sophia Smith stepped up to take the spot kick. But her effort was saved by the Brazilian goalkeeper, letting out a huge sigh of relief. Brazil held on to win 1-0 and become champions of South America for the first time. Since 2018, they went on to beat Colombia 2-1 in the final, thanks to a brace from Ari Borges. Throughout the entire tournament, Brazil didn't concede a single goal. They owe a lot of that to their new hero, Amanda Gutierres. But what makes Amanda special? What sets her apart from all of the other young forwards coming through in South America? Well, for me, it's her combination of pace and finishing. I think that she's still improving in front of goal. This is evident if you look at her heat map from that match against Venezuela. Notice how she starts off on the left wing before cutting inside. Now, I'm no Pep Guardiola, but I would say that this is generally a good place to receive the ball. However, notice how she drifts off the ball. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because she's able to make these incisive runs in behind the defense. But if she can improve her positioning and movement off the ball, then her goal-scoring record will improve even further. That's why I like to compare her to Robert Lewandowski. Sure, they're different players, but Lua also drifted off the ball in his early years at Bayern Munich. But with experience, he learned when to make those runs and when to hold his position. It's one of the reasons why he's arguably the best striker of the modern era. And I see the same kind of trajectory happening here with Amanda. It hasn't been all plain sailing, though. At times, her confidence seems to waver, and this was evident during her time at Corinthians. I think that this is natural because being a number 9 at such a big club is a huge amount of pressure. But I think that she's found a home now at Palmeiras and she looks happy. The start of 2023 saw Amanda called up to the senior team once again. She repaid Paya's faith by scoring twice in a friendly against the Czech Republic. Those goals took her tally to 11 in 14 games for the national team. An impressive record for a player so young. But what does the future hold for Amanda? Will she become Brazil's next global icon? Well, it's possible. You'll have to remember that she's just 18 years old. And in my opinion, she's already shown that she's ready to lead the line for her country. There's no doubt in my mind that she'll continue to improve. But whether or not Brazil can provide the platform for her to thrive is another question entirely. When I spoke about the Cinderella story earlier, I didn't just mean Brazil's national team. I also meant Amanda. Here's a girl from the favelas who's gone on to win the biggest trophies in women's football. Her story is truly inspiring, and I hope that she continues to go from strength to strength. Now, I don't usually do this in these videos, but please do me a favor and show your support. We're so close to hitting a major milestone. I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to thank my supporters for their continued support. And if you're interested in supporting, then check the links below. Thanks for watching.